Dr. Phil.
I'm on the hideout. They've kidnapped my son. They've silenced my wife. They've seized my house. They've closed my Bank of America account. Yeah, I'm just waiting to die at this point.
Dang.
But
You already know what it is. It's your boy Laid Back with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah. It's your boy Laid Back. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we gotta do. You gotta hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another conspiracy theory. This is about Hollywood and what goes on behind the scenes. And so just, it's a lot of stuff that can be going on that, you know, it's Hollywood. So be prepared. But make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share this with the last person you text in your phone if you a real one. And if you make it to the end of this one, you a real one for real. But don't forget, I got a TikTok playlist you can go through, binge watch if you into this stuff. But I say proceed with caution, you know. But let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's popping? Let's get it.
I believe there's something weird happening with Hollywood and the music industry. Let me show you what I mean. Here we have Rihanna. Here we have Demi Lovato. Here we have Billie Eilish.
Whoa.
Here we have Cardi B. Here we have Sam Smith. Here we have Lil Nas X. Here we have DaBaby. And now we have Doja Cat. This all can't be some coincidence. And I don't even think you have to be a Christian to at least admit that these instances are a bit odd. And then I can't help but to see that all of their fans will immediately come to bat for them. They'll be like, oh, it's just music. Oh, who cares? Let them do what they want. Mind your business. And it's like, you don't see anything wrong with this, not even a little. It just seems as if everybody's so blinded by the fact that these celebrities are their idols and that these celebrities have such high status that now they just couldn't care less. Another thing I've noticed is celebrities, especially in the music industry, will usually take this route after they've fallen off, or however we categorize falling off in the media. So call it a publicity stunt, call it gaining attention. I call it weird either way, especially coming from those whose primary audience was children and they knew this. Now, I've considered myself agnostic for most of my life, but it's things like this that have really made me think, especially when you look at what the Bible says about these things. Let me know what y'all think.
Do your own research. Do your own research.
You know, I heard the CIA low-key created Hollywood.
Really?
Or the Pentagon's been working with Hollywood for like 100 years based on like influencing like what is being put out as entertainment and movies. And if you look on Google, the Pentagon has like a budget for films. You could look up like some films that have been budgeted by the Pentagon. It's like the first Iron Man, Transformers, Black Hawk Down, all of the war movies. And I remember I was watching The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne. Yeah, they had that one girl on that everybody be talking about on TikTok. She was saying like, yeah, like the government is in the entertainment system to create like a propaganda that America is like, you know, the greatest country in the world, like with all these movies, like war, especially war movies. They're trying to like rewrite history to cover up all the bad stuff they did in a way. Like I was always thinking, like, you know, war movies always depict like our enemies as like evil people. So like, what if, like, do they look at us as bad people? Like, it's mad weird. And like, there's like 2,500 movies that was created by the Pentagon, and like all war movies that are being created or in the works, their script must go through the Pentagon.
Whoa, I did not know that. Whoa.
We sold our soul to the devil. How else can you explain us being here on the planet?
About a week, not today, but about a week ago, I sold my soul.
But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. And I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
Whoa. Here we go.
With everything since Dr. Phil.
I'm on the hideout. They've kidnapped my son. They've silenced my wife. They've seized my house. They've closed my Bank of America account. Yeah, I'm just waiting to die at this point.
Dang.
But realistically, I have goals. But yeah, that's what that's like. You know, my wife has been silenced. My son has been taken from me. Together as a whole, my family has been taken from me. My home has been seized. My bank account has been seized, and I'm supposed to be dead within the next week.
Why are you under this big attack?
Well, that I can't disclose, but I can tell you that all this stuff is true.
But he's still here. Not saying it ain't true.
Sir, Travis Scott.
Yeah.
That was a huge ritual.
But that ritual, there. I mean, the stage looked like something out of Hieronymus Bosch.
That was a portal.
Because it looked like a devil's mouth or something, and people were so that wasn't just a coincidence. Because they tried to poo-poo all the criticism, and they said no, it was just provocative imagery. But
no, people that people like me that we come from that, we knew that was a whole ritual right there. Because I believe he got the power through Satanism and through this type of things. So for him to go to the next level, you have to do something. You have to do some sort of sacrifice. That was a huge thing right there that he did. The platform was a portal. The things the sounds that they were playing when that was happening, they are really low sounds that open in the spiritual realm portals of death and portals for these demons to enter. So what was...
Whoa.
In this industry, what you must understand is when you do sell your soul, you are allowed to live forever. And these people that are called youngins, rookies, new booties, I would no idea that these people still live. They will prey, haunt, kidnap, anything to stay on top. This is their world. They have nothing but time is what they believe.
Now, who are we talking about?
We're talking about everyone that's supposed to be dead. Like there is a
in the
world,
industry.
In the industry.
Okay.
You know, when you walk around with the fake face and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna open up. It's like this is not. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that since World War I, we've been taught by the Indians and all this other how to take skin people and wear their faces to infiltrate the families and this, that, and the other. This is something that has been going on since World War I and before that. So now we've conquered the art of exchanging spirits, trading spirits. So
hell nah. No, sir.
Brief detail on what I've been through. So basically, I was working at UMG, like I said, for 9 months, right? I was invited to a Christmas party. Now, if you know UMG, if you know where the building is, around the corner, there's a bar. Now, I ain't gonna lie, there was a woman in there that I liked. She was like, yeah, I'm going. You going? And I was like, yeah, all right. You know, there was some higher ups in there. You know, we having drinks. Something told me not to drink because this is what they do. They get you drunk, get all the information they could get out of you and get you to sign these bogus ass contracts. That was one thing that kind of threw me off. So he's like, yeah, you come to the party and I'll introduce you to her. Liz, Joni, and Michelle. I'm drinking like an idiot, which I should have never did. Liz calls me over, says, hey, tell me about yourself. Mind you, I'm drinking beers, I'm drinking vodka, I'm drinking wine.
Oh, he going
crazy. But it seemed like my drink was stronger than everybody else's because I was f***ed up. So she's like, tell me about yourself. And I'm like, what do you want to know? She's like, what do you do? So mind you, then the lady, Michelle, right? And I never really liked her anyway because she had a chain. She had a chain on that she wore every day faithfully. Now, when I tell y'all what kind of chain it was, she had a horns, a canutus chain. And you know what this is? Canuto chain, the horns. She had that in 24 karat gold and she wore it every day. And it was around her neck faithfully. So clearly I knew what she believed in. She's like, what do you do? I'm like, I just work. She's like, have you ever thought of doing music? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I used to back in the day. And she's like, you believe in ghosts? And I'm like, where did that come from? She's like, just answer the question. Do you believe in ghosts? And I said, nah, I never seen a ghost before. So she's like, do you know about the room? And Chuck walked in there and they had mirrors. They have events and stuff down there, like rappers come in there. Yeah, they had mirrors and candles and all kind of demonic looking shit. Walked the f*** up out of there. And I said, yo, man, I'm not with that Santeria shit, man.
Hell nah.
Kim Kardashian's a witch and you cannot tell me otherwise. I'm gonna block her bosoms because they're just too much for the internet. But Kim Kardashian is facing backlash for wearing Princess Diana's $200,000 cross necklace for the first time. So like, Kim Kardashian is the first person to wear this necklace ever since Princess Diana. Someone said, what is her thing with buying accessories worn by deceased celebrities? It got me thinking, is Kim Kardashian dabbling in some dark magic? Let's not forget this is the same woman who wore Marilyn Monroe's dress. Same woman who like took a piece of Marilyn Monroe's hair, bought several of Michael Jackson's jackets, another jacket, Michael Jackson's fedora, and Elvis Presley's memorabilia. Like, what is happening? This woman is clearly dabbling in some dark magic, black magic voodoo shit. It probably makes the most sense of how someone who was like, you know, a corn star turned into a multi-billionaire. Like, it's the magic, guys.
Thoughts.
But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men.
Facts.
We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Hey, did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music. And he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting.
Waiting for what?
So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to f*** you. That's what my assistant said. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So now no more communication. Now you know to be hands-off with somebody. A number of producers come in and make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off for talking to you or looking at you like you're a woman. When you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room.
That's a fact.
And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept. So always be the man in the room. And that's always been my whole thing, and have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play gay roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that shit.
That's 100. Keep it 100.
They going above and beyond to promote the devil, and it's pissing me off. And that is something that I want everybody who can hear this interview to know. As much as I'm supposed to be promoting this movie and talking about my album, I just feel like we're in competition right now because they are trying to normalize the devil. They are trying to the devil is on the main stage at award shows and in every video and signs and symbols. And I said, you know what? We need to stop treating our relationship with Jesus like the little buddy that you talk to before you go to bed at night, and not be more vocal about all the things that God means to us and all of the things that God has brought us through.
That's real. That's real.
And in this movie, you're fighting the devil. Now, this was a great idea, I thought. Arnold has fought everybody. He has not fought. I call him Beelzebub, Lucifer. It's how I got this job. How did you prepare for the role of fighting with the devil?
Whenever you do a film like this where you fight Satan or the devil, you have to prepare yourself the right way. And so I did research in satanic kind of cults and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, in Los Angeles right now, there's like 50,000 devil worshippers. And that's not even that's not even including the agents.
Yeah, our crowd was too busy cheering satanic worship to hear the joke. That was the sad part.
That stuff is crazy.
Most people don't know this demonic secret about Kim Kardashian, but there's actually a really dark side to her. Check this out.
Okay, this is either really cool or a little strange, but that's who you're doing business with, right? So.
What is this?
That is Marilyn's hair. So.
You can clone her.
So that's awesome.
Oh my god, I'm literally going to do some crazy voodoo shit that I want to wait. And I channel her. This is so special to me.
She's saying that,
so
right?
So much. This is so cool. So cool. Good vibes. Wow.
Good vibes.
This is sleeping with me every night.
Most people don't actually know that voodoo and witchcraft and demonic things are an abomination to the Lord. And they'll actually open you up to demons entering your life. If you're not about to open yourself up to demons, then type Jesus is King in the comments.
She just said I'm gonna do some voodoo shit.
This is an example of how dark Hollywood truly is.
I moved to New York City, and I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn some
Puffy. Yeah,
that's what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil' Kim, Craig Mack.
All these people are hanging around.
Yeah, man. Faith Evans. Jodeci, Mary J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit.
Oh.
Wow. I was having a good time.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Does he have you doing any chores? Are you doing dishes at all? I mean, to keep you humble somewhat? Or are you just like, can you stay up till 4 in the morning with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And do you have money? What's going on?
I mean, I had like per diem. I had like,
what
like
a
living.
life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
Don't forget to like and follow and stay weird.
Even Usher said, hell no, I ain't sending them. Nope.
Shirley Temple exposed how dark old Hollywood actually was. She went on Larry King Live and explained that one of the producers that worked on The Wizard of Oz exposed himself to her when she was 12 years old. And this instantly made me think of everything that we heard that Judy Garland had went through while being a child actress.
This is crazy.
Shirley Temple then went on to explain how they would separate the children from their mothers, so the mothers did not know what was going on, and it was very, very rough for her being a child actress. She explained some horrid things that her and other children had to endure, like if they misbehaved, they were placed in dark black boxes with ice in it to think about what they have done. So I'm going to go ahead and roll you guys these clips of Shirley Temple explaining the dark truth about Hollywood. And let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
I went to MGM for one picture, thank goodness only one. And when I got there with my mother, we were separated. She went into the office of Louis B. Mayer, and I went into the office of Arthur Freed. And he was going to talk to me about a movie he wanted to put me in. I'm 12 years old, And I thought he was a producer, but instead he was an exhibitor. And I'd never seen anyone naked before, except myself. So I had no clue about what was happening. And so it struck me so funny, I laughed at him. And I laughed uproariously. I had tears, and he got infuriated. And he said, out, 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 go.
There were 30 little children all together, 30 of us between the ages of 3 and 5. And this producer, in quotes, separated the children from our mothers. So the mothers didn't know what went on. So it was pretty rugged, a pretty tough time. Being a starlet was difficult. I was a starlet from 3 and a half to 5 years of age.
Did they keep you in check by putting you in this, where, in the box?
In a black box. In the old days, they had one sound box on the stages to mix the sound. You know, they were black and they were on big rubber wheels and had a little narrow window way up high. Well, when we misbehaved, they had 2 sound boxes on our set. One of them had a big cake of ice in it. And when any of us misbehaved, we were sent one by one into the black box to cool off and think about it. In the dark, with the door closed. I got a lot of earaches, I got a lot of styes, I got a lot of problems from that. I was in the box several times.
What was they doing to these people, bruh?
My own agent assaulted me. And I went to the head of the motion picture department and I was like, hey man, I said, this dude, you can't molest the clients. And he said, listen, this is what I'm gonna do, Terry. He said, I'm gonna take his title and he's going to be suspended for 30 days. But first of all, when I met with him, he was like, I'm going to give you a meeting, as if he was gonna grace, they let him get away with it. I said, man, you can't molest the clients and come back to work, ever. It reminded me of the standing O that happened to Will Smith. I said, okay, I'll see you when I see you. And I spent $500,000 of my own money suing William Morris Endeavor. People like Terry.
What happened?
2011, Lady Gaga, she had a video and it was called Judas. She portrayed Mary Magdalene in a very provocative way. 2015, HollyWood does a TV show called Lucifer, which portrays the devil as sympathetic. In 2016, they did public satanic rituals in LA. In 2018, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is a show portraying witchcraft in a great way. In 2019, drag queen story hours all over LA.
Whoa.
2019, they do a documentary called Hail Satan.
Whoa.
They explored the rise of the Satanic Temple. Most of that was filmed right in LA. 2020, Midnight Gospel. This is another thing, just basically talking about occultism. 2021, Lil Nas X, music video, Descending into Hell, on a stripper pole.
On a stripper pole? What?
You need to see this. Ricky Gervais, who's a British comedian, was giving out awards to celebrities in Hollywood, and he just straight up on stage started exposing them all right in front of their faces, and the looks on their faces says it all.
People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Talking of all you it was a big year for movies. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care.
He then exposed Hollywood and spoke about Jeffrey Epstein in front of all of them. Watch this and let me know your thoughts.
Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. Season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
He didn't just do it once, he done it on a whole nother award show and again exposed another person named Harvey Weinstein, and the crowd started booing.
A movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein.
Ooh.
You did it. I didn't. You did it.
Ooh.
No matter how strong you are going to be affected by this play. His whole opinion about women on film, from beginning to end, is very brief. He says, women on film, either naked or dead. Both is better.
Whoa.
And it's like, whoa. Whoa. The man has got a spiritual malady for a start. I mean, the scary thing is that I think a lot of people think that. Maybe not to that extreme. There are people, well-meaning people, and you'll know within 15 minutes.
If this is the person you want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Christopher Walken, the first time I ever did a casting session in America.
Yeah.
Terrified me.
Me too.
I mean, fucking hell. I came to meet the guy. They said, oh, he's flying in from God knows where.
Yeah, but he didn't need a plane, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
He didn't need a plane. He came in, he was doing all the kind of Scorsese stuff. And I said, have you had a chance to read the script? He looked at me and said, did you like my face? And I went, yes. He said, but that's fucking great, because if you don't, get De Niro. Fuck you, I'm out of here. And stood up and walked out. And everyone said, well, that I think was quite a good meeting.
No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. He floated in, sideways.
What?
Through a crowd of people. He was wearing black.
What?
And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, you know, so he has he's very, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways and he just sat down in a chair next to me. And it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages. And he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures, because I'd read this book on torture. And I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book. And he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. And my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
And then I turned around, and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it. So there was a huge illuminated 666 in red.
Yeah.
And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist, I'll think, Walken, and you'll resent it for a little while, and you have to let it go. Otherwise, you'll eat yourself alive.
Wow.
And I think it takes that kind of cockroach resilience to survive in this town. When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on, because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, Weird Town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them, and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, Now this is what I mean by actually starting to swim up or downstream with the rest of the salmon, eventually, if you stay here long enough.
Yeah.
You'll find yourself doing that.
Whoa.
And you have to... There's a way of doing it without doing it. And that takes time. And it takes relaxation.
Not being uncomfortable about...
Not being uncomfortable. Realizing it for what it is.
Projecting.
And understanding what it is. Once you understand it, well, then you're not afraid of it anymore. So you can just walk around it, through it, and then get on with what you tried to get on with in the first place. A place like this can humiliate you. And it can humiliate you, it can be humbling. I mean, it does rip your life to pieces. If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. These little guys.
Bro, this sounds crazy. Crazy.
I was invited to a secret A-list celebrities party. There were things that happened at this party that were so dark and so terrible that I have been afraid to talk about it until now. This goes back to almost 7 years ago when I was living in Los Angeles. I was a struggling actress. I was working as a dancer at a club. At this club, we would get a lot of clients that were high profile, especially in the music industry. On one particular evening, we had this very high profile client come in and request a VIP room. I knew that this celebrity had a preference for Latino women, so when he requested a VIP room and actually requested me, I was quite surprised. And I went to do this VIP with a friend of mine that I worked with, did our job, did our thing, and at the end, he gave us a business card with his assistant's name and phone number and told us to call that number if we wanted to party after work that night. I was so not down for this, but the friend that I had done the VIP with told me that she's gone to one of his parties before and that he lives in the Hollywood Hills, has a really cool house. I was really apprehensive on going, but the night was really slow at the club that evening, so we actually ended up leaving early. I was not much of a party person or a drinker, so I was completely out of my element. I was literally there just for the bag. The party at this guy's house was not big or anything. I would say that there were probably less than 30 people in attendance, smoking and doing things that you can imagine are happening at celebrity parties. But one thing I couldn't help but notice is that amongst the people were some very, very young looking girls. At one point I look at my friend and I tell her, hey, like, don't some of these people look like way too young? That is when my friend told me that the assistant at the club wasn't the A-list celebrity's assistant. This guy is a recruiter. Basically what this person does is goes to parties, goes to clubs, and finds girls in a certain age range. And these young girls were being recruited to go to these parties, not to just hang out, but to engage in other unlawful things. This is actually not something completely uncommon in Los Angeles. In fact, this is something that happens a lot. I was completely dumbfounded and disgusted. I ended up leaving that night and never looking back on the whole entire situation until years later I saw in a tabloid an accusation being made against this very celebrity of doing exactly what I just told you guys.
You say that Hollywood is a cult. Will you explain that to us?
Well, it's the same kind of coercive power structure that you were describing, you know, and it operates in secrecy, and most people think that what happens in Hollywood, it's just, that's Hollywood, it's over there, but it goes out to the world, you know, it's the messaging system for our minds, it's the mirror we're given to look into from such an early age, and it's a really narrow group of people making these films. And so it's a mirror that's really, it's like a messed up mirror. Here's what you are as a man, here's what you are as a girl, here's what you are as a woman, here's what you are as a boy. And it twists your head, and you have to be really, really careful when you're there. And I think people need to be careful even when they're casually watching movies or TV. Start looking at the information they're giving you, not just in the lines. Like I was sent a script, and for no reason the woman was carrying a laundry basket in every scene. She never did the laundry. There was no washing machine anywhere around her, but she was always had a laundry basket. Why?
And you point out over and over again in the book that a lot of the women's stories in Hollywood are told by men, as in they write them and they direct them.
They write them, they direct them, they edit them, they film them. And there's nothing wrong with men directing movies. It just should be a balanced thing, because otherwise you have, it's in the Directors Guild of America, it's around 96% men. And that statistic hasn't changed since 1946. Right. So people that think Hollywood is a progressive place, I would just kind of beg to...
And as, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson
or worse, yeah. But so look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain.
Later, after I said no to Vegas, my therapist sat me down in a room and said he had a million phone calls about how I was not cooperating in rehearsals and I haven't been taking my medication. All of this was false. He immediately the next day put me on lithium out of nowhere. He took me off my normal meds I'd been on for 5 years, and lithium is a very, very strong and completely different medication compared to what I was used to. You can go mentally impaired if you take too much, if you stay on it longer than 5 months. He put me on that and I felt drunk. I really couldn't even take up for myself. I couldn't even have a conversation with my mom or dad really about anything. I told them I was scared, and my doctor had me on 6 different nurses with this new medication come to my home, stay with me, to monitor me on this new medication, which I never wanted to be on to begin with. There were 6 different nurses in my homes, and they wouldn't let me get in my car to go anywhere for a month. Not only did my family not do a goddamn thing, my dad was all for.
Whoa.
In case if you're not aware, there's a major court case that's going on right now with P. Diddy. And whether you're aware or not, whether you care or you don't, I hope that you'll listen for the next few minutes, because I'm going to give a perspective I don't see anybody else talking about, something that I believe that everyone should be aware of. Diddy's on trial right now for, let's just say, a laundry list of pretty disgusting, evil things that are going on behind the scenes in the Hollywood world. I'm not going to get too into detail about a lot of the things that are going down, things that he's being accused of, because it's pretty demonic. And now a lot of A-list celebrities are being rolled into this case, giving the world a perspective of just how dark this Hollywood web goes. There's nothing specific yet that these celebrities are being accused of. It's just that their names are now being rolled into this case. And every one of these celebrities at some point in time connected to Diddy by going to one of his parties. And the evidence that's now being brought forward is going to make you question, is this all just about money and power? Is it just about pleasure? Or is there something else that's going on here? Something much darker. One reason why this world has become a cesspool of wickedness is because the church, the body of believers, have become soft. And I'll be straight up that I was that lukewarm Christian far from God, the prodigal son. And I thank God every single day for his mercy in allowing me to come back home to the Father to eat at the table. And I was so blind to see how dark this world had actually become because I was so blinded by my own sin and my apathy to the things of God and apathy to spiritual warfare. And every child of God is called to be salt, a preservative to preserve the truth, the righteousness of God, and to be the light of the world, light that pushes out darkness. So whether you have a testimony like mine as the prodigal son or the prodigal daughter, or maybe you're the Christian who's just comfortable sitting on your couch with your blanket and you don't know what it's like anymore to get active in spiritual warfare and getting into the trenches and slinging it out with the demonic. And maybe you can't remember the last time that you shared the full gospel of Jesus Christ that calls all to repentance because maybe you're too afraid of what man says about you instead of what God says about you. You're too afraid of what people are going to think, what they're going to say, how they're going to view you. You don't want to talk to your coworkers, to your friends, or to your family. You don't want to make a single post on social media. My friend, now is the time to get active in spiritual warfare. Big homie CC used to work security at a lot of these parties, and he was just on Piers Morgan detailing some of the events that went down, and he says something that is very interesting that every person should pay attention to.
You know, as long as things are consensual, you know, what people do is their business. But why do you have to collect everyone's cell phone before you go into a party? He's collecting the phones himself. That's what I meant by there's layers to the party. You know, the first part of the event is going to be a normal socializing mixer. But, you know, when the guy comes out collecting phones.
Phones start getting taken away at these parties and people still stayed. They knew exactly what was about to go down.
Is it consensual if you're promising people a career path and a lifestyle in glitz and glamour and you're saying, look, we're all doing it. Come join us. You party with us, then I can get you a record deal. I can get you this. That's what's going on to certain people. You know, everybody isn't being financially compensated, and that's where lies the problem.
Did you catch that? He said that the problem is people aren't being compensated. For the love of money is the root of all evil. These 6 things the Lord hates, yes, 7 are an abomination to him: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. So according to Inner City Press covering the Diddy Combs case, a never-before-heard audio from Prince was recorded a couple of weeks just before his death. And while the audio was playing in the courtroom, Diddy completely lost composure, which does not make him look good at all in front of the jury. It just makes him look even more guilty. And the one testifying against Diddy is his ex of 10 years, Cassie. And what she's been detailing that goes down at these swinger parties is not just weird behavior, people doing weird things, odd things.
Very
no,
weird.
it's It's dark. It's demonic. And this guy, Gene Deal, made a very interesting comment about Diddy that I think might be correct.
That dude was possessed with some kind of demon, man. He was possessed with some kind of demon. Want to be in all this red, this dark rooms with the music blasting. It had to be a certain temperature.
There's this wild video on YouTube of a guy documenting these details of a secret society party that he was invited to in the Hollywood Hills. And there's no question in my mind that the things he details of what goes down at these secret society parties is absolutely real. Some people say no, most people say yes. In these secret society parties that are by invite only, they basically look for people who have talent and they say, hey, we can take your talent from here to there. But of course, they don't give many details of what's going to happen in the letter. They just say show up at this time. And of course, people are looking for opportunities to further their success and their stardom and whatever else it is that they're building. So people jump at the opportunity. And in these mega mansion parties, there's rooms and each room has a different theme. Some people would say a different energy. I would say a different spirit. Everybody is greeted at first with a very particular handshake, a very specific occult handshake where the thumb presses into the soft part of the hand. And everyone gathers around a grandfather clock, just like you would see in the movies where they're told what's going to happen next. And everyone who shows up to these parties wears a mask, and there's strict rules to keep everyone's identity hidden. And the first room is just the fun room where everybody is laughing and joking and meeting each other. And then they wait for the grandfather clock to sound again. And they go into the next room, each room with a different color and again a different spirit. And the spirit in this room is flirtatious and sexual, where people start behaving in different ways. And the clock sounds again and they go into the next room, which is the orange room. And this room is layered with just all the best foods and delicacies and pastries that their hearts can desire. But the spirit in this room is filled with gluttony, where people start behaving in animalistic ways with their food, spitting out things on the floor that they don't like and taking large pieces of meat and ripping it apart like an animal. And the clock sounds again, where people are led into the next room filled with gold and money, poker, blackjack, Russian roulette, whatever games that they want to play to fill their heart's desire for money. And the clock sounds again, and the next room is a red room, where things take a very dark turn. And in the room to follow, occult sexual practices and sacrifices are done, things that mimic the days of Noah. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. The 7 deadly sins of pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and laziness. Of course, there's more than just 7 sins that Satan will use to distract both the believer and the non-believer from the truth that's found in Christ alone. But these tend to be used the most frequently. In the Bible, there's a group of people, the Canaanites, who God had the children of Israel bring judgment against because these people were doing truly demonic things, like sacrifices of their children to the god of Moloch. And the bloodline of the Canaanites came from the Nephilim and the Anakim. Keep in mind that the god of Moloch is depicted as a bull, and when you start connecting the dots, it'll make you wonder, what is this world that we're living in? Based off of terminologies and symbols that you gotta wonder, where did this all come from? Evils like this cannot be fixed by a judicial system alone. Yes, put people like this behind bars, I absolutely support that. But Jesus said it very clearly. And as it is appointed for men to die once, but after this, the judgment. I tell you, nay, but except you repent, you shall all likewise perish. God is not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But God, who is rich in mercy for his great love wherewith he loved us. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up. The devil who deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever.
This stuff is crazy.
When I watched the movie Grown Ups for the first time in college with my roommates, and I didn't think it was funny, they all thought I was insane. But now I find out that Rob Schneider actually said that his entire role in the movie was just an Illuminati humiliation ritual.
What happens is with actors, you're in a vulnerable situation. You know, you're in a vulnerable place, you're trying to get a job, and there's people who could use that power to abuse it. I was a young actor. Yeah, I was asked to go to a hotel room of a director. It was a famous director, and I didn't think anything weird by it because I never think it had ever happened to me. And so I went, and he was in his robe, I still didn't think it was weird. Well, he probably just came out of the shower or whatever. And then he asked me to do the scene and then crawl on my belly around it, and it got to a weird place. I remember that humiliation, and I didn't tell anybody. The agents are creeps too, and then trying to get a job, and the casting directors can be, and the people who are the producers, the directors. I mean, it's rampant in the industry. There's not one actress who doesn't have a story. Just before I was really famous, and the next thing I know, I'm in a room with this guy. He's in a chair, and he's in a row. Comes out of the bathrobe and sits in this chair. And the next thing you know, I'm like, he's asking me to crawl on the ground, and then to crawl toward him, and it was just this disgusting feeling.
And with all the stuff coming out about this guy and the weird things in Hollywood, it makes you wonder what's going to come out next.
Bro, what do they be doing?
Diddy kept looking at me, and Kanye kept looking at Lauren, and they were exchanging glances, and I'm like, they're watching me strangely. And I'm like, okay, let me pretend to drink, and I'm not actually doing it. And that seemed to make them happy, me pretending to join in. And immediately I'm like, there's something fucking in this drink. There's something in this drink. And I didn't know what to do. And I my manager was across the room, but close enough, but not next to me, so I couldn't whisper to her. But I wanted to tell her, I'm like, hey, don't fucking drink this. There's something wrong with this. But I couldn't. So I reach for my phone and I start to type, and Kanye takes the phone out of my hands and he's like, who are you texting? You don't need to text anyone. We're having a party. And I was like, okay. And he puts it on one of the speakers. And I'm like, fuck. Now what do I do? I don't know what to do. And I see my manager take a sip. And I'm like, fuck. Now what do I do? And then I see her take another sip. 2 sips out of this little vodka cranberry cup. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? 2 sips, and I watch her face flush. And all of a sudden,
whoa.
I look over and she's speaking really loud and making jokes, and I'm like, whoa, this isn't her. She doesn't make jokes. She's fucking terrified of people. She doesn't even talk. And I was like, it's already hitting her. 100%, I just knew that the drinks were all laced with something. And she starts almost being belligerent a little bit, but not in a crazy way, just really enjoying herself. And I'm like, that's not her. That's not her. She doesn't even want to be here. This is weird. And all of a sudden she dismisses the studio host. She's like, you can leave. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And the girls file out. They go to a different studio, or they go somewhere. And I'm like, I have to do something. I have to do something. What do I do? And I go to get my phone where Kanye put it on one of the speakers. And as I'm going to get it, I turn and my manager's walking out. And I'm like, no. Where are you going? So I see her start to leave. And I'm like, where are you going? And she's like, it's fine, I'm just going to the bathroom. And I was like, no, stay. And she's like, it's right there, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. And I was like, okay. And she walks out. And all of a sudden, I realize that I'm in this studio. The music's low, the lights are dim, but you can still see everything. And I realize that I'm in the studio with Diddy and Kanye, and they're both off their shit. And there's 3 other men, an executive that works with Kanye, his engineer, and his cousin, and me, alone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. And I haven't started freaking out yet. I know what the situation is. I know, I know this is a bad place to be in, but I don't really feel scared yet, because I'm like, there's other people around, there's other men around, and I know them. I've known them for a while. Nothing bad's gonna happen. And I'm standing there, and I realize that so this is a pretty sizable studio. There's the glass doors, the couch there, a console, another console, the screen, all of that. But it's pretty big, but you can still see and talk to everyone easily. And I realize that I'm standing really close to the exit, and it's a glass door, and it opens in. and I'm standing pretty close to it. And I realized all of a sudden that Kanye and Diddy have realized that I'm the only girl in the room. And they're like fucked out of their minds. And they start coming towards me and they're like, don't you want to take your clothes off? Like, it's so hot in here. And I'm like, no, fine. I'm fine like this. And they're like, come on, like, it's just us. Like, we're all just friends. Like, let us just, like, see, like, how you look. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And, like, I still haven't gotten scared yet, you know? Like, I'm still, like, this is a bad situation. I'm creeped out, but, like, there's no reason to panic. There's other men here. Yeah, so they're coming towards me, and I'm like, okay, this is fucked. I don't know where my manager is. I don't know where anyone is. And they're coming towards me more, and they're trying to, like, take my clothes off. And
she not scared.
I'm like at that point where I'm like, this is not good, but I'm like still trying to like play it off. Just like, stop, you guys are fucking stupid. Like, get out of here. Like, don't touch me. Did this just freeze? Okay, so let me just get to the point. So they start trying, like, they're like pawing at me. Like, they're both drunk, probably on something else. And I start to get a little bit apprehensive because I'm pretty much like backed up against the wall. Like, there's only one exit and I'm pressed up against this door. And I'm still not completely terrified yet, but I'm like, you guys stop, like, stop. And they're getting to the point where they have like ripped my shirt off. And like, I'm like almost fully exposed at this point. And they're both coming at me. And I'm like, you guys, like, seriously, this isn't funny anymore. And I look to my left where his executive is. Like, we know him pretty well. Like, we've been around him a lot. He's literally 3 feet away from me. Like, if I reached and he reached too, like, we could touch. Like, he's that close. And I look and I'm like, hey, like, I give that look where I'm just like, come on, like, step in. Like, this isn't cool. Like, you're a grown man. Like, you're like 50 years old. I know you have a family. Like, you know this isn't right. Like, do something. And this is the part that for as long as I live, I will never fucking forget. It isn't actually the aspect of being sexually assaulted. That's not what haunts me. It's this. It's as these two grown men were pawing at me, trying to take my clothes off, I look over to this man asking for help, and I literally mouth the word help. And we lock eyes. And he looks away. I'm like, okay, there's 2 more men in the room. And I look to his engineer next, who's sitting right next to him. And I know that he's married, and he just had a little baby girl. And I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something. And I look at him next, and I'm like, okay, like, do something, say something, do anything. And he looks down at his phone and starts texting.
Whoa.
And then I was like, oh, fuck. I look at Kanye's cousin next. And I'm like, do something, you know, like, fucking do something. And he spins his chair around. And that's when that, like, gut-wrenching fear set in. And I was like, oh shit. No one's fucking saving me tonight. No one's gonna do anything. No one's gonna do fucking anything. And that's when I was truly fucking scared. At this point, they had ripped my shirt off, and they were trying to get my pants off. And I realized that I was completely alone. And I closed my eyes for a second. And I was like, God help me. What do I do?
Whoa. All right, guys, that was another TikTok conspiracy, man. That was deep. That was crazy. That was disturbing. If you made it this far, you a real one for real. That was disturbing. That was very disturbing. Wow. Like I said, I got a TikTok playlist, but you got to be careful going through this stuff, man. This stuff is some stuff in here. But Till next time, man, self-love and positivity, man. Fire Squad, I got you and you know it. Whoa.